if everybody uses their microphones, so you can call.
All right, it's 5 o'clock. We have a quorum, and I will call the meeting to order. We have Denny Nath and Emma DeVos zooming in, and Deb is not here yet, but expected soon. And then we also have Steve and Diana here. So, all right, approval of the agenda. Is there any, can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Okay, any discussion about that before?
Yeah, I am just walking in one more funding request.
Okay,
So, and I have copies of that. So that's under business item D.
So,
All right.
yeah, 7D, right?
Yes, 7D.
Okay.
all right. Any other changes to the agenda? Okay, all in favor of approving it? Aye, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, and then the minutes. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second?
Second?
And any discussion on the minutes? I read through them myself and did not see anything.
Yeah, they look good.
All right. All in favor of approving the minutes as written, say aye.
Aye.
Okay? All right.
I'm sorry, who on the agenda? You moved.
I moved.
Diana, did you second?
Second.
Yep, and flip-flopped on the minutes. Okay, so we are already to the director's report. So,
Okay. So I will.
Kevin, you're
I
on.
will scroll down. So last week or the week, last week I found out. Last week I found out that our second round application for the ARPA grant through the South Dakota State Library was funded. The maximum, the limit that we could apply for in this round was $15,000. So we were funded at that level, so that's exciting. We'll get to do some upgrades. We won't get to do all the fun things we had hoped, but it will still be a good program.
Will that go through to the city and then we make an appropriation back like we did the other grant, or? is this-
Well, and I will be putting forth at some point, the approval of the grant to the council, but I have to wait for a contract. It'll take about 2 or 3 weeks for a contract to come from the South Dakota Department of Education.
I just want
And-
to make sure we get the PR on it when it goes through the.
Yeah, and this is one where we have to expend city funds
And then get
and
back.
then get reimbursed.
Okay.
So we'll have to make sure that everything
Okay.
is spent by the end of the year, so we get everything done this fiscal year for the city's fiscal year. I guess any other questions, just to kind of help speed things along, any questions about any thing in my written report?
I guess my only thing on the, how you're going to spend the $15,000, that's how the library people want it spent?
Yeah, and we reprioritized, and we will be upgrading, some computers. And one new thing that we'll be adding is the capability of print management. And mobile printing, so people
Okay.
would be able to print from their phones. That is an ongoing thing that I had the letter from, after kind of the approval went through from City Council that, we could apply for the grant, then Stephanie Elwine was comfortable writing the letter, the required letter stating that, we would continue paying for any ongoing
I see.
expense.
Sure.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
So the POS testing Are we in a step further on that?
Well,
then,
we
or-
have received the card reader,
Okay.
and so everything communicates correctly. We just have to, and I think everything will work. What we'll need to do now is test what the best processes are
Okay.
of, because from the Atrium Pay app that then communicates with the PayPal app, we can pay by credit card, and then that gets recorded in the PayPal system, and we can get a report of it. But any cash sales that we would do in Atrium don't get recorded in the point of sale system. So I think we probably will just have to use the point of sales for just start any transaction there. And that's fine too, because it's no worse. I mean, it's a whole lot better than those little slips of paper I showed you.
Yeah.
And then we get a record of everything and we can see, so
Okay.
that will be bringing more information next month.
Okay.
So, and then, so my report, and Zach had a
Yeah,
written report.
Zach's been busy.
a lot of good stuff,
Yeah.
Zach, yeah.
Well, and I'll actually say, Jean's been busy too. She's just been too busy to write a report. So she'll say, oh, Zach's not as busy as me. He had time to write a report.
I know
And some
you've been
things
busy.
and some things, I'll point out that in Zach's report, the scan day at Mitchell Public Library, that is actually something done in conjunction with the state library. The state library goes around and has a program, and they're starting it up again, where they bring scanners, that they have,
Oh, sure.
and kind of set up and help, and we will participate too, of just helping people. They sign up for a half-hour session, and we show them, here's how you can scan photos and organize them and get all of your photos or any documents that you may have digitized, and why that would be useful. So,
Yes, back on Kevin's report, I see these numbers on the children's participants, and holy moly, there's a lot.
well, and I'll, in my statistical reports, if you noticed in the graphs, I swapped out a graph right here. Let me see if I can make that any bigger. This is a graph that shows programming participation by the month for the last, from 2018 through the current year, so through 2021. The yellow bars are 2021, so we only have 6 months. But the blue bars are 2020, and so those high numbers from March, April, May of 2020, we shut down, but we went to online, and lots of people were stuck at home. They participated in the online programming. But if you look at what is a gray bar and the kind of the orangish bar, those are 2018, 2019, and those would be in-person numbers. So if you look at June 2018, 2019 compared to June 2021, people were eager to get back and come to programming, as Jean not proud, or proudly says, or just, you're not proud about it at all. So what do you say about scheduling an animal and you'll get numbers?
Oh, there is some truth to that. And a live animal will bring things out. And so I had a strong hunch about it, but I think this is something we can continue for future years, also, just in terms of knowing our audience and our community. Oh, I'm sorry.
So, And one thing I'll just point out, I mean, if you dig into the numbers, we had over 5,000 people participate in June. Over 4,000 of those were children, participate in children's programming. If you look back or if you look in the, where is children's programming participation, in this particular table, in no year, well, 2020, the online thing, that is an anomaly, but from 2012 to 2019, we had no year that we had 4,000 participants in children's programming. And this year we had over 4,000 in 1 month.
Amazing.
I think so. So,
Yay.
kudos to Jane.
What I did mention to.
You need to,
Am I on?
no, you need
Is
to
it
push
green?
that button.
Got it, okay. What I mentioned to Kevin, though, is that it is a team effort, because when I'm running crazy, like I've been this summer, there are the hidden heroes, the Ada who is staying at the desk and juggling so much, in my absence. So I just want to make sure that those workers who are at the library are also being recognized, because they're the support that makes everything happen. Mm-hmm. And then I also want to thank the board for their funding for speakers. We were able to get some very, very good speakers. Some did not accept an honorarium, but those who we did pay, of those, the ones that come to mind would be the Zoomobile, which brought, people out of the cracks. And this was a hot day. People came out, just in comparison, last week's we did an online, a virtual visit with an author. She made us a video, and then she also did an online Zoom call that was attended by the kids at First Lutheran as well as several others. But I want to mention that this author gave us a very, very good deal. Her book, Rhinos in Nebraska, was just released today by Holt Macmillan. I mean, this is a major, major New York publisher, and so I think we were very fortunate. So there are a lot of good things, but I just want to thank the board for the funding that allowed us to do this.
And then I also, last month, I told you that HUFI also had come up with a system that we could track our programming, and so we still have to get children's programming numbers back to January, but here's June, so we have the 45 total programs for children, YA, and adult, and then the 5291 in participants, and you can see that over 75% were children's participants, and general interest was there, adult. So
Those are some great numbers.
And if I can just add too, with those children's programs, the wonderful thing is they do bring in their parents and their grandparents, and so that is a wonderful way to reach the community is through the children too.
So that's the report. If anybody has any other questions.
Anything about that we should know? The last page of the HUFI?
That's Wi-Fi usage. Looks like we had total sessions down a little bit from the previous month. Unique visitors up. So,
Okay.
Again, this first year of having this, it's interesting to see how the trends in the summer, how it compares to the school year.
All right, so I think, is that all for the director's report?
Yes.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the director's report? Okay,
Jenny?
second? Okay, all in favor, say aye.
All right.
Okay, opposed? All right, director's report is approved. So financial approval, financial report, approval of bills.
Okay, so the bank statement is there. The profit and loss, the QuickBooks profit and loss, we during the summer, with programming, we typically will spend more than, we take in, but that's, again, to be expected. The balance sheet is there. We still have, over $106,000, which I'll go back up to the statement. We had $106,000. So again, some of this, the ending balance in the bank statement won't necessarily balance with the balance sheet because some checks haven't cleared, but they're close. So.
All right.
And then the where we are budget-wise, and with some of the programming, that we're winding down, then we've been, getting some orders in and, getting some work done on that type of thing too. So. I mean, the one big thing, repair and maintenance that we're, way over, is, we're budgeted 1,500, and, we've had nearly 7,000 in repairs to the building, the HVAC system mainly. So. Yeah.
So that is something that's generally reimbursed by the city, or?
We'll just have to watch what the
Yeah.
total ends up.
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as, if we don't go over in some of the other areas, and there may be a few things that we won't go over. Like in newspapers, I can tell you we're not going to go over because we canceled Omaha World Herald, because, the price increase we saw, we just didn't think we wanted to continue paying that, for the use that it gets. So, there'll be some accounts that, could make up for a little of that.
All right.
So that's the financial reports.
One question.
Yes.
In your director's report, you talked about buying the new HD TV.
Mhm.
Is that paid?
Taking that out of supplies.
Oh, you did, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Because we're below where, we were only at about probably 35 to 40%, and we're over halfway.
Put it in there and you're
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Yeah. And the program, start small, but the program, was attended. We had a couple teens watch the movie. They enjoyed it. So, Cindy said it went well, and they were quite impressed with the quality of, the equipment. Had we used our projector that's old, there were some pixels that were dead, and so it was like looking at the night sky with stars on the screen. It would have been terrible to do that. So it was kind of we made this decision to do this program, and now what we thought we had to use wouldn't work, but it will it will get used. It will be a good addition to our equipment.
All right. So can I have a motion to accept the financial report and approval of bills? Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll move on. Business items. Annual meeting, is that this month, July?
Yeah.
So chairperson and vice chairperson.
So I'll just take over. I mean, according to our bylaws, at the annual meeting, we select a new chair and vice chair. So that would probably mean Ann's no longer, or due to the bylaws and the calendar. So you all need to pick a new chair. But I did ask ahead of time, and Ann was willing to serve again as chair, and Denny was willing to serve as vice chair.
I second.
One more year.
Okay, we'll just take it in one motion instead of two. Was that a motion to appoint by acclamation? Or can you do that? To reappoint.
Since they're both.
Reappoint.
Yeah, they're both reappointed.
Okay.
Just in case you got.
Okay, and so that was Diana, seconded by Deb.
No, you're not.
So I,
As I was when
I'll just follow then the school board method then, that I'll run this election since you're voting, since you're not really chair. So all those in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, and you can take over again.
All right.
Thought you might vote against yourself, Ann.
I'll do it one more year. Kevin's pretty easy to work with, and thank you, Danny. I don't see your face there anymore, but thank you.
Oh, there he is. He came back.
So what is B, 2022 budget request?
Well, last month, we went over
That's
the
this,
the
okay.
capital outlay requests that I was planning to submit, but this is the entire budget. Now, this really doesn't mean much to you because you can't see how it compares to this year's. So the next page, the two gray columns are this year's Mitchell Public Library budget, and then next, the request that I'm planning to submit, so you can see how the numbers compare. The one thing, the only thing that's included in salary-related requests are part-time. Everything else, that 641 is this year's with the additional part-time request that we're submitting. And so any salary increases, due to salary policy, contractual requirements, that's not in there.
Oh,
I mean, those will just be automatic because, I don't have any say over, what amount the contract says. That was a negotiated contract. So I can tell you for part-time, we're requesting, but that's on this page. So I'm requesting $34,000 next year for part-time compared to this year, we had 20,000, and the 34,000 is more in line with what's been done historically for part-time positions, and we need to go back to a fourth position as we this fall, return to full hours, full winter hours. I'm a little concerned about how I will get all of the hours covered as we spread people over more hours, and so that's why the additional request for next year would help cover an additional part-time person, and which just takes us back to the 4 part-time staff members that the library had in the past prior to the pandemic. Newspapers, we canceled, we had a couple newspapers that we subscribed directly to. One of them, the Omaha World Herald, we're canceling. And another one, the Yankton paper, we're folding into our periodical subscription and going through our vendor for periodicals that just, they manage all of the subscriptions. It's much easier. And so even with not moving all of that, I'm just increasing the periodicals, but requests by 250 compared to this year. So I'm kind of doing some shifting. Supplies, I'm requesting $2,000 more. Postage the same. Minitex fees, that's our cataloging, the same. Well, no, not even. Because if you come down here, then here are things that Huron have that we don't have, and they have $10,000 in office supplies, plus supplies and materials. I don't know. I mean, I will have to contact them, but one thing I found out, when I was looking into purchasing that TV, I thought, oh, can I take it out of my audiovisual capital outlay budget? And I asked Michelle Bathke, and no, anything that comes out of capital outlay accounts has to be follow the capitalization policy, which stipulates $5,000 or more. So we don't have $5,000 worth of TVs. Whereas books or, audio CDs, those are all together. So even though one book may only cost $20, it's all taken as a whole. So, if they buy any type of supplies or, equipment, one here, one there, that may come out of supplies and materials if they have a similar policy. I mean, I will have to, their director is retiring, but I can still contact her and ask her what they, overall, here is their budget for 2021. So that was what was approved. So nearly $200,000 more than ours. And, their population is 1,000 less than us.
40,000 more in books.
Yeah. And 8,000 more in audiovisual, which they don't have. We have, ebooks and we have ebooks and audiobooks, and maybe they're putting those in their audiovisual. Although, if it's capital outlay, I'm not quite sure, because I would assume, Steve, you could help me out, maybe, but you would have to own those. And some of the ebooks that we buy, we can only buy them for 2 years, and then they go away. It's like you're paying to have.
You're leasing them.
Yeah, for either 2 years, or you can have like 20 checkouts, and after 20 checkouts, it goes away.
Title goes away.
Yeah. So that's, I think, why I'm at least I've assumed that that's why we.
Based on accounting differences of what they allow or don't allow. But their books is quite a bit more. Their audiovisual is quite a bit more. But even their current operating is double as well. They have maintenance contracts, which I'm not sure what they would be maintenance. I could see that they have atrium like we do, so they could put, we have just a separate atrium line, and so they may be put Atrium in there, but it certainly wouldn't be that much more, but, they maybe have some other systems. If they have the print management software, that could maybe go into the maintenance contract as well, because that's a yearly fee.
Could it be just their computers and software? Could they have some maintenance contracts? I mean, ours goes through the city, but,
Yeah, if they have a local tech company that, they pay for. I was wondering, Steve, can we get this? Can we just have $500 in miscellaneous money?
Well, I was looking at their library checking account expense.
I can't figure that out either. What?
They just get $15,000 to spend.
Oh,
Take the staff out to eat.
Yeah, it goes to how the accounting is viewed, I guess.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't figure out really why they would spend that much yet on magazines. That many people in Huron would come in and read
yeah, because they have to read them in the library.
magazines.
Right? I mean,
They maybe check them out. I mean, there are libraries that check out individual issues. That could be. I mean, they could have some Spanish-speaking magazines and some Hmong. Yeah,
Yeah,
There are e-books or e-things in that too.
Yeah.
Magazine, or what do you call it?
so potentially they buy multiple copies of the same book in different languages, too.
well, for
But
our,
overall, they nearly $200,000 more than us. And so, that's what also I thought. And,
but
I mean,
salaries only make up about 40,000 of that 200,000.
yeah. So, yeah, they have a lot more part-time people than us, too. And so, if we can get back one, and then in the future, I probably will be asking for some additional, because that would still be cheaper. I mean, eventually, my goal is to free Gene and Zach from the circulation desk, so that they can focus on, programming and assisting
I think that's a good goal.
patrons to locate materials. I mean, that's, and then, and that would be a more inexpensive way to increase our staffing than hiring a full-time person.
so if we're just looking at this budget compared to our budget this year to next year, like what would you say were the
But,
things we
okay,
should make note of?
The database update here, that is, later, I'm requesting money to renew the newspaper archive, but then this would be for next year, 2022, to renew it, so.
That was a question I had, is that, it was the timing of that
Yeah,
you were.
Because I don't have
That
anything.
you're budgeting
Yeah.
it.
Because
But
the
then you're asking for
2021
money.
budget was already,
I see.
that process was already
So we're kind of-
done when we added that.
Off.
So
I
that's one thing. I shifted money from capital outlay audiovisual materials to, streaming, the downloadable ebooks, as well as, so that was about 4,000, and then the 2,000 was for supplies and materials. So that's kind of a wash there. Utilities and sewer, water and sewer, just based on usage. Work study. In the past, we had work study for 2020, we had $500, and I almost had 2 different people hired, and then they never showed up. But MTC still is willing and interested in that. And I checked with HR for 2022, we would need to pay $3 an hour. That's pretty cheap
Right.
wages. Then the work-study program would pay the rest. So that goes from 0 to a little more than almost 1,100. Oh, well, yes, so that is, Zach, we have more master's prepared librarians. I mean, Jean doesn't have an MLS, but she also has her master's, and so I'd like to have, Jean's going to be getting certified this year, and so I want to start having more of the staff attend conferences, South Dakota Library Association, and then I'm also requesting money for one person to attend a national conference. So that's really the doubling, almost the doubling of it, because then that's the National Public Library Association conference is in Portland, Oregon. So travel there, and when you go to those conferences in March, you're probably going to be paying $150 a night hotel. So and I had missed that one, so thank you for catching that. And capital, the furniture equipment is again asking for money for end panels for our shelving that should have been purchased when the library was renovated in 2015. I mean, we need to have that finished look. You go to any library and they have end panels. And just requesting a little more for books. The decrease in audiovisual was shifting up. And I'm asking for money for computer hardware. That $301, from 2021, that was carryover for the CARES Act grant. So that was, as well as the furniture equipment was carryover from the CARES Act grant. So, the city did not fund those two amounts. So, as we've talked in the past, I mean, we feel that the city should, if the city's going to have a library, should support and provide those tools to the patrons and to the staff. And the building improvement, if we would have gotten that $100,000, amount, and we would have been putting in lots of technology, and we would have needed new connections, new network connections, new power. And I mean, just looking towards the future of still wanting to do a lot of that stuff eventually, that $5,000 would pay for more network connections and power in locations for expanding technology. So that's that.
So this is what we talked about last month, right? That you will submit that to the mayor, then you'll find out what he's going to recommend to the city. And then at the city, then we're in that time frame, that's when we're going to say, Emma, that you would be our spokesperson. Are you still there, Emma?
Oh, somehow she got disconnected. There, I just admitted her again. Hi, Emma.
Yes.
She's still agreeable to that, yes? Are you there, Emma? Oh, okay, so,
Oh, she's now on video.
oh, there you are. So you just heard what I said about going to you agreed to be our spokesperson for whatever needs explaining at the city council meeting after the mayor gets done with his recommendations. Yes?
Are you asking if I'm still willing to represent us?
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
Perfect. All right. So we just wait to see what the mayor and,
Yeah, so Kevin will present, and this, fine with me, present that, and I've kind of estimated there's probably about $18,000 in additional salary added onto that 641 per the negotiated contract. And so overall, it looks like about somewhere in the range of a $70,000 increase request from last year. And so you'll be asked to defend, the items that went up and down, or as you moved them around and that type of thing. So approximately $70,000. $20,000 is in there automatically for salaries. And then I think you need to push and make sure on the part-time, with your goal of having our professional people not have to work the desk or a limited amount, and then see what other objections they have, and some of the numbers might move around, some of them might not, but when we see what that is, I can talk with Emma, and we can talk, highlight these areas to push, and at those two, and we at least have two public input meetings for the budget hearings. That's when we would come and make the case.
Perfect.
And before I have to submit my budget request on August 6th.
Is that what it is?
Yeah, it's early, that first week of August. I plan on drafting just an introductory narrative justification
For all the-
and I would include, maybe not item by item, but just overall budget comparisons to Huron, to Pierre, to Yankton, to say, look, of these communities that are 13 to 15,000, 16,000,
We're going to step up
we,
our game.
we are low, and we want to not be at the bottom. So, and talk about, the other things too, and the goals of the library.
All right. Thank you for all your work on that, Kevin.
Know exactly when we're going to have to go and present yet, right? We won't know that until after submission.
It's in September, Emma, and I'm not sure. First and second meeting possibly in September, or between we might have a special meeting apart from the council meeting in September. To
I think as long as, like you say, Steve, getting together and talking it all through, would be very helpful.
Yep, and we'll have Kevin's highlight justification, or at least what was presented, so we know what was presented to the mayor and finance, and then we'll know what their objections were, if you want to call them that, and what they changed, and we can try and counter those or move things around for the presentation.
That sounds great.
All right, thanks for all your work on that, Kevin, and
Thank you.
Emma and Steve. All right. That was budget requests, so we're way back up there yet. Meeting times for 2021 and 2022. So I guess if I recall, the bylaws say that we get to set when that is.
Yeah.
And so what we've been doing is the third Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Everyone's still okay with that, or do you have some input on a different day or time? Works for me. Anyone else? Any problems? Okay, well, let's keep that the same then.
Okay.
Do we need to vote on that budget request or these meeting times, or are we just doing this by consensus?
I don't think there's.
Yeah,
Okay.
I guess, I wanted to at least, the bylaws also said that we would, well, let me see.
Maybe.
I feel like they say, or as determined by the board.
The annual meeting shall be held for the purpose of election of officers, should be held. The annual budget shall be reviewed and approved at this meeting.
Okay.
We
do need
we
to-
really can't approve, because the city approves it, but
We can
Yeah.
approve your
the
request.
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's back up then to B, which says 2022 budget request. May I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Second? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, that sounds like everyone. Then the other part, you were just looking at those bylaws, Kevin, is that the meeting times, do we need to vote on that or anything? Just the annual meeting?
The board shall meet at such times and location as agreed to by the board.
Okay.
So I guess I just
Yeah.
put it, that doesn't necessarily say you have to redo it
Right,
every year,
okay.
but I thought I
Okay.
would put it in there just for
And then
clarification's
we've looked at
sake.
both of these documents. So we are on, I believe we're ready to move on to B, needs assessment survey. And do we have, did we,
Yes.
oh, this was the survey. I did not print that. That's why I'm confused.
So.
So this is what you guys, what the
This is-
librarians
yeah,
came
this-
up
So
with?
this is what we came up with. We have not publicized it yet because I just wanted to get the board's input and approval on if this was satisfactory. And I know we talked about, maybe just even 3 questions, but we thought if you're going to, ask people, getting a few more demographic and just how often they use and rating a few of the services, so that tells us what they think of what we're doing now. This will help us.
Yeah, that's,
Well, so I guess, looking at just our general customer service, our library materials as a whole, rather than, we could have questioned them to death with, okay, what do you think of our print books? What do you think of our I'll just do it all together. What do you think of our programs? Our online services, our website, our database, do you find them difficult? Are they worthwhile? Interlibrary loan may or may not be worth asking about. The people who use it will probably say it's excellent, and then a lot of people who never use it will say, don't know, it's not applicable. And so, that could be one that we could potentially cut. Computers and printers, well, a lot of people come in and use that. And, the internet access may not be worthwhile asking about either, because some people may not differentiate between, the computers if they're coming and just using it for Word and doing printing, or if they're going out on the internet. So, do you think the internet access is even worthwhile?
but that may include those people that are out in the parking lot after hours.
Yes, that's true. We could say internet/Wi-Fi access.
Yeah,
Internet and connectivity.
yeah.
Okay. Just our general facilities, hours of operation, and then just overall, how are we doing? Anything there that you think we should not ask about?
I think we're at the interlibrary loan, because you're not going to change anything with it anyway. You don't have any real control over that program, do you?
Yeah, well,
I guess
No.
I would ask the things that you have control over.
yeah. We do have control over, we can say, well, we're not going to do it, or we could charge $5 for it, or, or we're going to be slow at filling the requests, and not focus on it. So, we do have control over it, but, I think it's just the feedback that I've had from people who have used it have been quite pleased with it this past year compared to
This
the
is
past.
like the physical interlibrary loans, because like if you are requesting an ebook,
Yeah,
some of
which-
those are, they're not really considered interlibrary
No,
loans, and?
no.
Okay,
This is physically getting something.
physically getting something.
Well, or if it's an article, which I don't know that we've had anyone request an article from another library, they would scan it and send it to us, but,
Okay,
so, okay, I think that's a good idea to cut that. And we'll reword the internet access to be at least Wi-Fi or connectivity too. And then asking people how they find out about library programs, and because if we don't get many checks on signs or flyers in the library, or there's I mean, that would allow us to say, oh, let's not focus on that, or let's focus on that more.
Okay.
And then here is the how could the library be improved? Are there services, programs, materials not currently offered that you would like us to consider adding in the future? And we tried to be kind of generic, I mean, not just say services, programs, materials, rather than doing a whole laundry list up. I mean, this is, I guess, our laundry list. And I mean, I know, Diana, one reason you wanted this was to see if people wanted more hours or whatever. We see then this as triggering them. They can rate this, and if they want more hours, then, oh yeah, I didn't think the hours are great, and they'll list, we want the library to be open more. But we didn't want to just say, oh, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Just what's on top of your mind, tell us what you're thinking and what you would like.
I'm just wondering how likely people would be to do an open-ended question as opposed to check marks. Like increased hours, decreased hours, makerspace, computer services, I mean, like whatever you guys were thinking of doing as a way to test, as a way to test the ideas. I mean, I don't know what the data says on surveys, like how to get the most valid response on a survey.
Yeah.
I know writing a test, there's all kinds of psychology that goes into it, right? But surveys, I don't know the data on that. As far as, do you get better responses if you give them more buttons to check? Or do you get better responses if you and then have an other at the end where they could write in something they don't see? I'm just wondering how many people, if we're using it as a way to get feedback on proposed ideas that your staff has, do you want to list them out and see if there's actually interest in those?
Well, I mean, last month we talked about just asking an open-ended question and getting that. So that's what we did here. And I guess my concern about doing that would be we could have a whole page of things for them to read through and check. And then if we go then to a third page, what kind of response will we get? And that was our concern. Because this actually ended up starting at 3 pages, and we cut a bunch of stuff to get it down because we thought, oh, that's way too long. People won't respond. So, I don't know.
Data that's actionable.
Yeah.
I don't know the best way to do that. I'm just throwing questions out.
No, this seems like a pretty good blend to me, where you do have some check marks and you do have open-ended questions, but it doesn't include things we don't have. But maybe that's not the purpose of this particular survey.
And I guess, another, we have our goals, things that we would like to do, but I don't know how soon we would be able to do them, depending upon funding or whatever else. So, if we, so if we say, hey, what do you think of this? And they check it, like, oh, yeah, let's do that, and we get lots, but then we don't get funding to do it. Whereas,
For a budget request.
But then
Yeah.
you
Say our survey data
Yeah.
Then you
says-
can use it to say.
Yeah.
Our survey data showed
Well-
enthusiastic support for this idea.
well, how about, is there we could wait another month, and we could work on a second option with a list of things like that, and then bring it to y'all, and then we can see which one
That's-
looks
that's
better.
You guys, I
mean, 'cause-
questions.
Yeah. Because we can't use this now for submitting anything more for a budget request. And,
It's for the next one.
yeah, and even in terms of hours, we're not going to change our summer hours anymore this summer. And,
How long do you want to run the survey?
probably 3 weeks.
Could you add like number 5 under there, because people aren't gonna fill all that space out just from
I-
past surveys. you
I-
know, shorten the
Yep.
space and put 5 and then maybe put check marks, or boxes for, would you be interested in, and then list a few in that space without taking up any more room, because people aren't going to write a novel. They might jot
Yeah.
down.
Yeah, they could list, yeah.
From the space allocation, I looked at it and said, oh, 1, 2, 3, 4, yep, that's really good. 5, 6, 7, 8 could take up a couple inches of a piece of paper.
Oh,
I mean,
that could be crunched.
Name, age, boom, boom, employed, et cetera. And it's, you know, it's 1/3 or even a quarter of the size that you have put in there. And
Well,
that's information that's nice to know, to, you know, maybe analyze and group the data a little bit. But the real meat of what you want, no matter who it comes from, is 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Oh. And in a lot of ways,
And
number 4.
1, 2, 3, or 5, 6, 7, and 8 could be all along the very top of check your age range, check this, check this, check this, check this, and then you've got almost 2 full pages to figure, you know,
That's a good
put
point.
something else out. You know, they want to
You condense 5 through 8 into,
Okay,
Yeah,
well,
that space. yeah.
so we will,
But I
Redo.
like Diana's, so, and it's kind of like number 4, how can it be improved? And then maybe you put 5 or 6 suggested new
Well,
things.
Priorities that you've listed.
yeah,
Yeah.
Are your constituents interested in the
Are you
priorities? you've listed?
interested in these items? And if they check them, great, and we count them up and put a other, and then put a comment for free form entry, and,
okay,
Maybe some wish lists.
I mean, I
Yep.
don't mind leading them down the path a little bit,
all right.
Sure.
because
Well, I
you're
wouldn't even have thought until you said that to put makerspace.
makerspace, or put,
Nobody's going to put a
Well,
makerspace.
Zach just talked a lot about makerspace,
Yeah.
and it's not something I would have thought of either.
Right.
But when
But
Zach
if
was
you
talking
put it-
about it, he
Sure.
was really excited about it.
Yep.
You know, James Valley programming, I mean, people maybe don't know that he does outreach there. But if they see that, they might go, wow, that would be really cool, I would like to do
Yep.
more.
Okay, we'll put a list together, and maybe even, I'll just email it to y'all, so
Yeah.
that we can,
And
instead of waiting,
your
and
goal is to keep it 2 pages.
yeah,
Yeah.
all right, thank you.
Surveys are rough, so-
Well, I know,
But
well,
even just 3
Yeah,
cents,
We may have
Yeah.
lost Denny, but we still
and then
have,
off, you can take all this information
still have
and
4.
just say, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
give text.
Yeah, we're
Did we
still-
lose Denny, or is he still with us?
let me see here. No, we still have 3 people.
What's that?
Then, we still have 3 people on the Zoom call.
And Emma?
Okay, all right, we just don't see him in. All right, so Deb needs to leave, but we still have a quorum, so we'll carry on. All right, so needs assessment has some suggestions for changes, Kevin, but otherwise I think we can move on from that. I don't think that needs any further action on our part. C, check writing policy, yes, I was the one who requested about looking at that policy of requiring 2 signatures, and I don't know what's needed to change any of that. My thinking was that we did that, when we did that, we didn't have a good handle on who the checks were being written to and when. And now I feel like that's a lot more clear to us. And so that, I feel like sometimes I'm holding up Kevin on things that probably are of small enough amount that maybe don't need 2 signatures. So I just was going to throw that out there and see what the rest of the board thought about that. I also do not know exactly what that policy does say about check writing.
The
Is
policy,
it just in all checks?
the policy is not in
There is no policy.
the bylaws. I think that was a policy that the board had approved before I was hired. And so that would be documented by minutes, of a previous board meeting. But that, my understanding is that that is then something that would have been arranged with the bank. that,
Right, so it
you
may
know, in-
require something from the bank that says,
of telling them telling them in writing that we don't require two signatures on a check, or
Or put a
maybe
dollar limit or
that there's
something
on
on it.
any checks over $250 or something, or over $100, or I don't know.
I know one of the other nonprofits that I'm a little bit familiar with, their limit is $300. But then when I look at the bank statement this month, it looks like most of those were more than $300, but that's not what I remember writing checks for you for. I remember them as being much smaller amounts. So,
I did not bring the checkbook. Let me go back.
there, at page 2,
So customer.
Yeah, so those are all, I mean, I don't remember those being that large
700.
amounts, were they?
Yeah, those would have been, like the 353, I think, was the zoo, and the 350 was, those were all summer programming checks.
Okay. Well, and again, I don't have a problem with it, I just feel like, sometimes Kevin's waiting a week for me because we can't get our schedules together. So if y'all feel like this is something that we need to do, we'll continue to just do like we have. But it seems to me like Kevin manages a budget of hundreds of thousands of dollars. He can write a check for $200.
Well, I'll just interject. I have not felt that pressure or that
Okay.
delay.
Okay.
And there have been a couple of times then when Ann has not been able to be there, and I checked with Denny, and Denny ran right over, to the library within a couple of hours. So, I have not felt burdened at all by that policy.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
So,
We can review it in the future.
okay. Leave as is for now. I'm fine with that. Okay, so D, funding requests. You have a document, and then is this additional item, is that what
yeah,
you just got here?
that's
from-
the walking
That's the
one.
additional one? Okay.
So Zach is requesting funding for adult programming for having a National Novel Writing Month at the library. And,
Pretty,
in
looks like a
the
good
National
value.
Novel Writing Month is in November. And he would like to have, the library, have a weekly come write-in and have some speakers come in. And then, so these 3 speakers through the South Dakota Humanities Council, and then also I'm having potentially have a DWU English professor come.
I recommended her.
Barb, yeah. Well, and she lives right across the street. She could get to the library easily. So that request is for $200.
Okay.
And then, if you all remember, Diana and Emma, you won't remember, back last year, even before I came, you approved and paid for getting a movie license from Swank
Oh, yep.
Programming, so that we can actually publicly show movies, because most movies, you buy, the movies that we have in the library don't come with public performance rights. They're just for home viewing. You check it out and you can view it at home, and that's certainly legal. But if we were to show a movie in the library, we need to have public performance rights. And this Swank fee, then allows us to do that for lots and lots of movies. That's what we did this past. And so that expires at the end of this month. Well, just one. Well, I think we would try to do it at least once a month. I know Cindy has talked about showing movies, books that were turned into movies, and she has some teams who she thinks then we get it going would be interested in then having a discussion of, okay, how did the movie differ from the book, and I think that would be a good program for teens.
Yeah. Yeah, we bought this at a really bad time,
Yeah.
first time. Really bad time.
And
But
then,
yeah, I think that's a great, I mean, if you can have some ideas for having good attendance on it, I mean, if it approaches anything like the children's programming, would be well worth
the
it.
last funding request is to renew the newspaper archive database.
And that's to
we've
get
talked
that kind
about-
of back on the right schedule.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, so that's, and that, I have received renewal information from both Swank and from the newspaper archive database, that they're wanting an answer. And then the walk-in request is actually, I already spent 120 of this 150. I'm coming asking for, because I took the Swank one. Yeah, funding, requested funds is 150, I'm sorry. I missed one. If you all know, Reader's Den is closing, and we were able to get some books from them for our collection rather cheaply. And now they are graciously letting us purchase some of their display shelving. And, if we were to buy it from a library supply store, we'd pay $1,000 for one display shelf that we already bought, I'm sorry, for $30.
Second.
Awesome. All right, all in favor of the funding requests? Aye, okay, say aye. Any opposed? All right, so we're good with that. Library policy updates. So meeting use policy, meeting space use policy. And-
So these are two policies that we redid, and I mean, Steve had emailed me and asked, but these both were run past the city attorney, and he made some good suggestions, and we incorporated those. So
Anything
I
that's
think we
different
cleaned
from what we
things.
had? Or-
Well, the meeting space policy was kind of in a narrative form.
Okay,
And, we just wanted to make it much clearer, with
Sure.
the kind of the numbered items of each one of these things you need to
Okay.
submit. And I have included the meeting space use application form, but we're not asking for approval of the form as part of the policy.
sure.
Because here's an example. Projector. So this form has to be changed already. Because TV, because now we have a large screen TV instead of a projector that we can't use. So, if we would add new equipment, we could just quickly change the
Sure.
form without having to bring the whole thing back to you all. And then the computer use policy, it's kind of the same thing. We cleaned it up and numbered it more clearly. One thing that Justin recommended, we had originally in this introductory paragraph, said that library staff may restrict an individual's use, based on failure to follow these computer use policies. And Justin recommended just any library policy that then they can have. It's not just, so
Okay,
you follow all library policies or this particular privilege may go
My
away.
only comment, and I didn't send it to you before, but in the past, since I've been on the board, we've had events at the meeting room where food has been catered in and served at 7 o'clock at night type thing, and there were heating units, external open flames on the food that was being served. And the library was the one that sponsored that event.
Oh. Well,
And we say in here that you can't do that. So as an outside person, could the library still do that?
I can't imagine that we would plan an event where we'd want to cater something.
Okay.
Yeah,
It hasn't
yeah.
happened in the past.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
Can people bring food
that would, I guess that would abide by the way this is, I mean, that's probably more than light refreshments, but they're not cooking it in there and creating smells that would go throughout the whole thing or, so, or taxing our electrical system or whatever with lots of hot plates or something.
I was just thinking if there's a workaround to something.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
except that I could potentially see if we had a program on cooking,
They probably would use the library then.
that would be one thing where maybe, we had somebody who wanted to do a program on gourmet cooking and they brought their own, that would be the exception to that. That would, so we would probably have to come to the board and ask for special permission for something like that. Yeah.
A line in there that says,
Uh,
well, maybe the policies, I mean, there really shouldn't be a big thing, right? Probably not gonna be an issue.
I mean, we did have, in issue number 12 here, just 12C fundraising of things that are not, I guess allowable, or fundraising, campaigning, political meetings, or solicitation activities. And we did actually have a request from a group that was wanting to have a informational meeting about the movement to have a convention of the states to, redo the U.S. Constitution. And everything then they said it was apolitical, but everything that I read about it, it's a very political thing. And just with the whole, so I informed them that with the current political environment in this country, that's not something, because I could see some certain individuals coming and protesting their meeting, and we're not going to have disruptions in the library and so we said that they would need to find a different place. So,
Yeah.
That's fine.
and again, the form,
That
we're just,
form looks good.
we're presenting it to you for your information, but that's not part of the policy.
And then on the computer use policy, it talks about, the printing. So if you can do mobile printing, is that still going to be?
Well,
still be
and
charged for that?
actually,
Or is that something different?
once we get that new system, we probably will have to redo this policy. I have a different version of this that incorporates the mobile printing, so I guess
Okay.
we'd still like to have this updated, and then once that system is in place, we'll update
right.
this policy again,
All right.
just so.
All right, so.
And the last prohibited use was something that Justin recommended,
Yeah, I just
adding
was
the
looking
mining
at that.
cryptocurrencies.
Yeah, that was,
I had not
That did
thought of
catch
that at
my
all.
eye. It's going, okay.
But he said, you may want to talk to Andrew, but I think that uses a lot of
mining at the
computer use, or a heavy use on the computer. It just, so,
Wi-Fi, like a lot of bandwidth.
well, or even the computers themselves, yeah. I don't know exactly, but I thought, okay, yeah, we don't need to have people mining cryptocurrencies in the library.
So that's a huge activity for college kids right now. They're really into that. Investing in all that
Yep.
cryptocurrency
Yeah.
stuff.
So,
All right, so policies, I guess we thank you for that information, but I don't think we need to take any action on that. Library card.
oh, yeah,
Or do
we do need to vote on those.
We do need to, okay,
Yeah, the
so-
board approves
I'll move
policies.
approval of the meeting space use policy.
And the public, do we need to do them separately?
Can you just
I can do it.
move both?
Move,
Or-
and the public computer use policy.
Thank you.
Okay, can we have a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor of approving as written, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All right, so on to F, library card
Okay.
contest.
Just a quick update. Here's where we are. I mean, these are the rules that we've come up with. There are a few things we have to decide yet, where people will submit, but open to anyone in Davidson County, because the county pays for, county residents to use the library as well. They can only submit one entry. We'll run it in October. Artwork must be original, not published elsewhere.
What about kids that don't, if this is being open to the schools, there's going to be some kids that are not Davidson County residents,
But if they have a library card,
Yeah,
do they?
well, that's true. No, yeah.
Middle school and above.
Technically, if someone who is in Hanson County, but in Mitchell School District, to get a library card, they would have to pay a subscription.
but then they've already paid it.
No?
So if you say for anyone who has a current library card,
Yeah, that would cover it if they have a current library card. We would just, yeah.
But do we do K-12 kids? School kids have,
We do.
or isn't it just like middle
6,
school and
12.
above?
We do 6, 12, yeah.
So there may be,
We can
tweak it.
yeah,
Okay.
we'll give some grace.
All
And
right.
if they're in the school district and they are participating, if their art teacher, has them as a class project, to work on this, we'd be,
You just want to make sure we don't exclude anybody
Right,
Yeah.
unnecessarily.
right,
Yeah.
because what if that kid from Anson
Yeah.
County is,
so we could probably say,
Only
open to
up to-
anyone
you
in
know.
Davidson County or the Mitchell School District,
oh, that'll
or
cover it.
anyone who has a current Mitchell
Yeah,
Public.
include
Library
Mitchell
card.
School District and that will cover it.
Yeah.
And Christian school.
Yeah, because there could be somebody from another county,
Yeah,
so, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you can an open roll from any
Mitchell
place.
schools,
Mitchell schools, yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, that would
Yeah, we
cover
have
it.
Sanborn County people.
Any,
going to-
or in any school in Davidson County, probably.
Yeah.
I should probably say that, because
Then
if they're open to the county,
Mount Vernon is
yeah.
included.
And they need to be willing to grant copyright permission to the library to use their,
Yeah, that
image. Yeah,
letting
the
us-
bullet above that, any submission that includes copyrighted materials. I mean, I'm not quite sure how we would, but if we would find out that they had,
Stole something from
yeah,
somebody?
then we would disqualify them. Submissions may be in any medium.
computer generated.
Yeah, so we should probably add that in. I was, graphic design, computer, yeah,
Because of their digital submissions.
yeah.
Yeah, digital submission.
And then,
Certainly might be.
and that, I mean, the AI and the EPS and the PSD would, that kind of suggests digitally created. So, and then they can submit their, if they have a physical entry, if it's, paint or whatever, they can bring it to the library, and digital entries, we haven't decided which email address we'll use yet. And then, although we did create, for the PayPal account, Andrew created a library board email address that then gets sent to me. And since the board would probably potentially have final say of awarding whose wins, we could use that email address. Entries must be accompanied by the signed entry form, but we don't want them, and so they can attach this and put it to the back, but, and this is that's bigger than a library card, but that's kind of the pattern that they'll use, and then we can shrink it down and onto the size. So we just wanted to show you where we are with that.
Oh.
Any questions?
Did you have a
Yeah, and I apologize, but I actually have to leave, but I think
Okay.
that looks really cool. And I think I'm not missing too much of the agenda by having to go at the moment.
Okay,
Nope.
thank you.
Thanks, Emma.
Thanks,
Thank you
Emma.
very much, everybody. Nice to see you, sort of.
Yes. Bye, Emma.
Did you mention the price on the top of the form?
No, not yet, because we haven't, well, we have to still decide yet on those. So I guess what are you willing to give?
What's typical for a contest?
I mean, there were, some libraries had $50 prizes, some libraries had $100 prizes, so, or if we pick one winner for an adult, one winner for
You have 3 categories.
teen, and one winner for children, then, I mean, that could be, 3 $50 prizes or 3 $100 prizes or $75. There was one library that, that had like a runner-up kind of a deal. I'm not quite sure. I mean, if we're going to have 3 age categories, I'm not sure that we want to have 6 awardees then. I just think we go with one.
And then the idea is you're going to print each of those cards.
Yeah, so then we would have, and anybody can, an adult, if they want to have the card designed by a child,
Sure.
if that's the one they like the best, I mean, we don't really care, because right now we don't have differentiated cards. They used to, I guess, but we don't have differentiated cards for age groups. So, so we would have our basic card and then the 3 contest cards that people could
Could end
choose.
up with 6 winners, though, because you could say, here, 2 designs in this one, 2 designs in this category, and 2 designs in this category, and you can have your card printed any which of the 6 that you want.
Did you look at how much it costs to have it printed?
Well, yes, because we need to get just our generic cards redone, and we're working on that. Probably the most inexpensive place that I found, like 1,000 cards would be about less than $600. And so we could,
One run or with
One run or-
that's one run. And I mean, the 1,000 cards was only about $50 more than getting 500 cards.
on a regular year, non-COVID year?
Well, they, I guess in about February of 2020, I think Jackie ordered 1,000 cards, and we need to get more cards.
So in a regular year, that was a pandemic year, how many regular, in a regular year? I don't know, how many, right?
I would think, yeah.
And if your numbers are going
Now, wait,
up, but still you don't need
that-
6,000 cards.
That changed dramatically
No,
when
that's
we
right. I'm thinking-
started adding the 6th, 7th,
One in each
8th.
category and then a grand champion, like an overall, or a people's choice.
Yeah. The number of cards issued changed when we incorporated the school 6th, 7th, or the new incoming 6th graders every year got cards through the school system. The first year we did
And-
that, we
and
had
we
6th,
did-
7th, and 8th graders, I think, get new.
Yeah.
So it was.
But, I mean, if you see there, try and get it even
Library
big,
cards
oops.
issued.
There.
There we go. So you see the 1660 in 2017 under young adult YA, where it went to 1660. That's
Yeah.
where we first added the
The schools.
schools, and then it went to 400, 400, 562 after that. That's adding the 6th graders every year
Yeah.
as they come in. So that's.
And we did that last year, so in 2020, we had 562
So
yet.
about 2,000 up a year.
Yeah.
So far right.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
was 2,000 a year before the
Yep.
pandemic.
Yep.
So, and, we could order 1,000 of each.
Well, I'm thinking you order 1,000 of each, that's 3. That gives them 3 choices. The next run is going to be cheaper on all of those, likely? Yes?
it's
Not
just,
necessarily.
yeah, I mean,
I
you would
mean,
just
isn't
order
there
the
like a
same.
charge to set up and then,
This place, they didn't really have a setup charge. No.
okay, so it's
What do
just,
you think of having a grand champion, just in case there's like two, just
Really good ones.
Yeah.
two really good ones, they can make
Well,
a grand champion.
or, your idea of having 2 in each category even,
6,000 cards.
Yeah.
but 6,000 cards, if we would decide to do this every 2 or 3 years, 6,000 cards would get us through like
2 or 3 years.
3 years.
What do you think?
One of the things that I'm thinking, though, with the numbers, with the middle school kids, like when the sixth graders, they don't carry physical Mitchell Public Library cards. They use simply their ID cards and ID numbers, so that would affect the actual number of cards.
Maybe that's inflated.
I'm inclined to keep things simple, and if we have 3 winners, and possibly, I mean, giving ourselves room for the event, that things need something, we could give an honorable mention or something. But I think keeping it as simple as possible with 3, if possible, would be wonderful. And the other thing to keep in mind with those numbers, that when children get cards, children don't carry their cards. The only card-carrying people are those who are 6th grade and over.
Well, and I think we can continue this conversation next month and kind of make that, because we'll still have plenty of time, and that will be before the school year starts. But again, I wanted to let you know where we are, and there's a couple changes. I mean, add the school district of schools of Davidson County in that, in the first bullet.
anyone living in or attending school in Davison County.
Yeah.
I just think patron of the library.
What'd you say?
Be patron of the library.
But patron, I mean,
Well, see, and that's,
Might have a bunch of kids
Splitting
in
hairs.
yeah, because there were
our class
some,
in third grade that they don't go to the library, but the fact that they're in art class and they're at school, they then could submit an entry. If they're not a library member, then you'd exclude them.
yeah, and there were some contests that, it was like that. I thought, why? Okay, I mean, and if it's a child, it may not be any fault of their own that they don't have a library card, but if their parent doesn't bring them to the library,
Right.
but if they're in art class, if we work with the art teachers, I mean, it could be a way for us to get them to then come to the library, or, so.
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
So we'll continue that.
Okay, and then anything else on that? All right, SDLA membership.
Ann or Steve, can you tell me, or Denny, can you tell me if any of board members in the past have had membership in SDLA?
Yes.
Has the
We even
city?
we even took some online courses and
Yeah.
training stuff from them
Yeah.
that we
and-
had to complete. I can't remember, was it 6 hours? Were you still, we had 6 or 9 hours of
continuing ed.
continuing ed
because-
training. You got on their site and got their password, and we went through.
Yeah, because
All that.
one of the things, getting the library certification again through the state library, the board as a whole, I think, needs to complete X number of
Hours.
hours.
We did
and
that
so-
before.
And so, I would like to have that happen again, because I want to get the library back to being certified. And for board membership, it's only $21 a year. And so I was just wondering if y'all would be willing to have the board bank account pay for all of your membership. And Denny, you
Per
can have a
person.
membership through a board member and not your personal retired membership.
I've been a member for, 30 years?
And you would still be a member, but you would be a member, or, well, I guess you could decide if you wanted to be a retired member.
Per person.
We did that before in the past. We had that paid for out of our money. And
So I guess I would maybe then bring that, ask that if you would, have a motion to do that, and then you could print off the application from the packet, or if you want me to just send you the one-page PDF application, you could fill it out, return it to me, and then I could send them all of the applications in together with the check from the board.
Sure. That,
Yep.
I think
Yeah.
emailing it to us would be good since there's two
Okay.
people who dropped off already.
Okay,
And give us a date by when it needs to be back.
okay.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'll forget.
So were you making a motion?
Yep, I second.
Okay.
okay. All in favor of membership to SDLA for all trustees, say aye.
Aye.
Right? So, on to committee reports. I don't believe we have any board input.
Just thinking for the random comment, one of the spending requests was to get the Swank membership. You were talking about having the book and the movie. I would just maybe encourage whoever's in charge of that to work with the local English teachers, because you could probably get double bang for your buck. You
Oh.
bring people in because the English teacher might be covering that book, or might be willing to offer for extra credit, or any number of
Okay.
things, so just
Yeah.
mention that to the local English teachers. I'm sure Allery has connections. Sorry, I don't mean to keep kicking you.
Any other board input? We don't have any citizens here, unless Jean has something to add, but, okay. Next board meeting, August 17th at 5 PM. I assume that's our normal meeting time. We are adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. I thought it would make it an hour and a half. I'm sorry.
Yeah. I was thinking how today, too. But normally